You'll need the appropriate permits to do that.
The permits office is open on alternate Tuesdays from 10:30 until 10:40. You must show up in person and have these forms filled out in triplicate. Do not use any color ink except black number 1.
But these are not the appropriate permits.
Those are the appropriate permits.
Does this sound familiar? Do you run into issues with small town, small-minded bureaucracy run by demented conservatives determined to prevent your event, festival, or outing from happening? We here at Sinister Minutes have a solution. Introducing new, improved AI-enhanced pod people. These are not the old-style emotionless ones envisioned by such 20th century films as The Stepford Wives and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. No, Sinister Minutes improved pod people are exact duplicates of the bureaucrats you know and hate, with everything matching perfectly except the shitty attitudes. While immediate friends and families might notice the difference, we've placed hundreds of pod people with 0 complaints. Get your Sinister Minutes pod people today! Pod people are shipped as individual seedlings. Some watering and feeding may be required. Follow all instructions, not responsible for mismatched pods. Got a minute or two? We have a way to make it not okay. Welcome to Sinister Minutes. I'm your host, writer and storyteller Kurt Homan. Next to me is the master of macabre musical musings, the maestro of mood, Tim Parker. Together, let us take you on a journey into the dark heart of disturbing. Sinister Minutes. It's not okay. Sinister Minutes features tales that include disturbing content. That's intentional because, like the podcast itself, the creators here at Sinister Minutes are really not okay. Now, having said that, realize that content featured on this podcast may include descriptions of some pretty horrific things at times. It is a dark fiction podcast, after all. So we hope that you are anticipating some degree of abuse and blood, of harm and death, of suicide, of sex, of injury, of mutilation, of pain, and certainly some profanity. Maybe a little bit of screaming, occasionally some threats, a bit of torture, a bit of victim blaming. And as always, at some point, we're sure that you're going to encounter some witches. Don't say we didn't warn you. Welcome to Sinister Minutes Season 2, Episode 6. Today's episode is a special treat because we're giving you a taste of our live performances without you having to get all close up and personal with us. Granted, if you do want to get up close and personal with us, Tim and I would be more than excited to bring some horror and mayhem to your gender reveal party, to deliver a gut pile or a gut punch to your grand opening, to share tales of revenge and songs of dismembered corpses at your wedding feast. Just let us know. But for today, we have a whole slew of little snippets. Mind you, we play our words and music off of one another, which works most of the time until we can't hear each other anymore. Then things get really interesting. These pieces are wicked short, but carry that classic sinister bent and twisted humor that you know and love us for. That means the trigger warnings apply, even if the witches we always mention were mostly standing around and listening to us perform. Well, they were. And we don't like to disappoint witches. Last time we did that, well, it was an ugly situation that took a rabid ostrich and a gallon of Vaseline to undo. Folks listening at home, please know how grateful we are to you for your support, for letting us entertain you, for sharing the Sinister Minutes Gospel with your friends. If you're just joining us for the first time today, we encourage you to go back in time and give a listen to the multitude of shows put out over the past year. Longtime listeners, you know you want to go back and give some of those older shows another listen. And for everybody, a nice rating at Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever would be greatly appreciated. You can always find us under Sinister Minutes on Blue Sky or YouTube or Facebook, or drop us an email via sinisterminutes@gmail.com. If you've got a story of your own, something with a dark or sinister bent, something you'd like to hear on a future Sinister Minutes episode, then go ahead and attach it to an email. Send it to sinisterminutes@gmail.com and we'll give it a read-through while we're counting our remaining digits and considering all the ways in which we are not okay.
She never cried when her skin turned to hard protective bark or her hair to green tessellating leaves. After all, trees are strong. She'd thought about the metamorphosis of the butterfly, of transforming a face and body that had always been called ugly into something beautiful, of feeling wind beneath wings instead of further messing already unruly hair. But butterflies live fleeting lives, and after years of abuse, she wanted years to thrive. She thought about allowing herself to calcify into stone, to harden herself against a world too eager to redden and bruise the soft skin she wore, to live forever. But stone exists at a different pace, and she knew she'd see 1,000 lifetimes expired in a single breath. After hearing so many harsh words cast in her direction, she sought awareness for any words of praise, any sense of joy. And so she built a shell of hardwood and added to it with each passing year. Her exterior became nearly impenetrable, and while her heart still sang deep within. The wind rustled her leaves, the birds nested in her branches and sang her praises, and the squirrels filled with mischief dashed up and down her trunk. This is counting birds. How do you count the birds when the world is ending? Asked the wizened old woman, her stooped shoulders shuddering under unseen weight. Those green eyes had long ago lost the sparkle of youth, victims of advanced age and the horrors she had witnessed. I knew what she was asking. Gone were the days of watching a bird feeder and counting up the visitors, or trekking out to a remote bluff in order to count the migrating raptors flying overhead. Guessing at the number of starlings in a murmuration was firmly in the past. All were gone. I reminded her then of who she was and what she was, of a time long ago, and yet barely a blip on the cosmic scale, a time when she stood tall and strong, and her eyes still held the sparkle of youth, a time when she crafted a world, shaped mountains and oceans, trees and deserts, creatures that moved upon land and swam in water and flew through air. A time that had arrived and departed so many times before. At last, I answered her question. You count them one by one, just as you did when your world was beginning. We'll end on a happy-go-lucky funeral note here. It's called Funereal. I don't even know what to do with this music. Okay. Sweet-smelling blooms greet the mourners filing past. A perfume that inspires no one. Sunlight through high windows cast spotlights on the cold concrete. Strained laughter lapses into embarrassed glances, then quiet whispers from human lips join the hum of hidden fans. Salty essence from swallowed tears is almost masked by complimentary candy. Signaling the end, the man in black touches my hand. Sometime after they all leave, I stop repressing my smile. Okay, this is the last one really. And this is just called The Poet. There we go. Words flow out. The pen slides on. Ink pours forth as the point is pressed. Ever downward. But do words ever truly speak to the heart? Does ink ever truly write upon the soul? Or are they empty vessels, drawn down, tapped out, left for dead? Perhaps the vultures circling high above will find more in these empty words than do I. Called Ode to a Mosquito. Buzzing madly in the hot summer sun, pushed off course but not from the goal. Sweet flowers scent all wasted on me, for I seek musk, the scent of a meal. Twist and dive, I fear the dragon's kiss, but no time to hide, for I must feed. Life-giving nectar, oh, for a drop. Host now in sight, hot exhale my sign, I take my approach, close gently in. Ah, sweetest blood, I gorge on you now. Savor the taste, sucked deeply inside. Pictures rush by, a flash of my pond, and I... The demon squinted at him, trying to take his measure. There's only 3 kinds of animals, it declared. So are you an octopus, a cow, or a duck? He stretched, affording the demon a better view. Your knowledge is sorely dated. Cows haven't walked this world for 1,000 years. The last ducks departed on one final migration, a rush of wings and a thunderous quack. And the others? Asked the demon. Adapted, of course. One arm draped around the demon's shoulders. From ducks, octopuses absorb the ability to dwell on land and air as well as the sea. From the cows, size and patience. From the long extinct humans, ruthlessness. The the arm squeezed tighter, pulling the demon toward the black, widespread beak. I wonder what we shall gain from demons. The next one is a little more lighthearted. This is called Gerbil. They thought it was a gerbil. But after an afternoon of enormous ants, flying saucepans, and an especially combustible toy trike, they were forced to revise their assessment. What made you report it as a gerbil in the first place? There was no time for the usual niceties, so I'd gotten straight to the point. Gerbils are furry brown creatures with long tails and short legs, who happily exercise on tiny little wheels. Sometimes they nibble a bit. Most notably, a gerbil will fit in your hand. I waved my arm in the general direction of the creature. Amongst other topics of interest, I'd been sent to investigate. That thing, whatever it is taller than both of us together. Its primary color appears to be violet. It had rows of sharp teeth that I do not wish to get any closer to, and several odd-shaped horns are erupting from the top of its head. If I were to imagine a creature most unlike a gerbil, I don't think I could do much better than that. There's no need to be rude about it, they said. It's not being rude. It's about, well, having some degree of rational thinking in what you report. If you had told the office up front what you were facing here, we might have taken things a bit more seriously. Nobody took me seriously when I mentioned ants. Okay, I said, I'll grant you that, but in our defense, all you mentioned was enormous ants. In the future, please provide some relative scale. We assumed enormous meant they were, I don't know, the size of wasps, not the size of train cars. And while I'm at it, flying saucepans conjures up an image of something like a tantrum, a pot or two thrown across the room, not a sky full of hovering cast iron cookware. Hey, this is my first day, they said. Level with me. Is this going to get me fired? Nah, I said. By the time you've done this a while, you'll know what to report and what to keep to yourself. I grinned. On my first day, I had to handle a moose with 6 heads. I thought it was a flashback to my university days. That damn beast almost trampled me with all 9 legs. They shook their head, looking dazed. I had no idea teaching kindergarten was going to be so bizarre. She turned from the small crowd, staring through the bars of the tall wrought iron fence to the world beyond. The leaves fluttered in the stand of trees that stood atop the small hill, and she could hear them whispering, calling to her. Quiet whispers that spoke to the most neglected parts of her soul. High overhead, a hole opened in the clouds, and a beam of sunlight streamed through. She looked up, not caring what the others thought, as she let her attention wander. It had been months, years, perhaps even centuries since she'd even noticed the sun. Damn. The minister had noticed her attention wandering. She met his gaze for a moment, but it was not disapproval in his eyes, but pity. She stared at the ground so that he could not read her face, not see how misguided and badly timed his pity was. It pained her to stand there while the cool wet of the grass soaked through her old dress shoes and support hose, but she would see it through. An earthworm inched its way around the sharp cuts of a stone that lay a few inches from where she was standing, and she watched, transfixed, as it slowly vanished. Not magic, she thought, just bad eyesight. There must be an entrance there, and the thought of it continuing downward, meeting its brethren deep in the rich, moist cavern below, brought a genuine smile to her tired face. Another poem, this one opens with bugs as well, but okay, there's mosquitoes in it too. Fairy flies flickered by, twinkling stars upon the ground, while the bright orange moon nibbles hungrily at clouds. Flowers' priceless perfume scintillate the night sky, while Oberon croaks out his deep song of hope's love. Titania whirls through in her shimmering gown, hoof prints in tall clover, where Goodfellow passes. Dragonflies dance macabre with mosquitoes abuzz. I watch and I laugh, charmed by the night's magic. Your windshield blocks all, this night forever lost. This is called Numbers. The king was so drunk on the power of money and title, he made the mistake of forgetting that numbers were a form of power too, and the commoners had a lot of numbers. Most often when historians or scribes speak in terms of the numbers possessed by the common folk, they're referring to the size of a population. 10,000 angry peasants can certainly lay waste to a royal they no longer respect. But in Fractalia, the king was not concerned about such events. After all, the palace, situated atop a hill and guarded by well-armed knights, seemed impenetrable. From his throne, he reviewed the results of the treasury inventory he had ordered, a counting operation of his vast hoard of gold coins. It was good to be the king. He shifted one morning from the throne room to the treasury vault, partly because he no longer trusted his aides to count the money for him, but also so he could sit among the stacks of gold all day. There were other treasures within that space as well, jewelry and precious gems that he scooped up and held in his grasp, the cold metal never failing to bring a smile to his face. In no time, he gave up leaving the vault at all, having his bed brought inside and set up in the center, finding respite among his stacks of treasure. He handled affairs of states from within, passing messages back and forth through a small window where he also had his meals delivered. There was no need to leave the room, and certainly no one else great enough in name or power to require admittance. In the market squares of the villages that made up the kingdom, the people, of course, noticed that gold was no longer flowing from the treasury. The king allowed nothing to leave the vault, with the exception of dirty dishes and soiled laundry. Lacking gold to use as coin, the people reverted to barter, trading carpentry for a pig or a song for a glass of ale. Things progressed and numbers were written down, signed for, and used to purchase goods, much like gold had once been used. Weeks turned to months and months to years, and all the while the commoners kept to their numbers. One day a group of explorers arrived from a faraway land and asked about the great structure atop the hill. The commoners warned them away from the place, for it was rumored to be haunted. But the visitors were curious and decided to investigate, and in the abandoned remnants of what had once been a grand palace, they found a tightly locked vault, and within the vault a skeleton surrounded by gold and jewels, a one-time king in money and title alone.
This is called Let It All Burn. We cannot afford houses, they said. Their leader stepped onto the balcony of his palace and responded, "Then you shall lease space from those who can afford them." They grumbled, but they wandered off. "We cannot afford the doctor," they said. Their leader, looking up from admiring a new nose in the mirror, responded, "Medicine is costly. You shall learn to heal yourselves." They grumbled, but they wandered off. "We can no longer afford to buy food," they said. Their leader swallowed a bite of Kobe beef and responded, "You shall be more industrious. Everyone shall work a second job." They grumbled, but they wandered off. "We cannot afford heat," they said. Their leader, resplendent amid 1,000 stage lights, responded, "Energy is finite. You shall gather firewood." They grumbled, then they wandered off. They returned, more quickly than ever before. They brought no new complaints, but had certainly heeded their leader's words and gathered firewood. A lot of firewood. They stacked it in a pile and then carefully placed their leader at the top. For leaders shall always be at the top of the pile. "Let it all burn," they said, and the flames licked the sky. Deep within, the remnants of a soul, too shattered, too scattered, pointed shards twisting. Once awash in hopes and dreams, now darkness settles in. Reality clouds the sky, blocks the rainbow from view. Can words unlock the door, and truth be found behind? What sacrifice required to regain love and life? Some walls are there forever, reinforced and reinvented. Others topple with a nudge, never meant to truly thwart. Bonds are meant to go beyond frailties and frail ties, living on within the heart, weakened but never broken. Dark Reflection, composed and performed by Tim Parker. Sinister Minutes is presented by Kurt Homan and Tim Parker. The musical score was composed and performed by Tim Parker. Our production team consists of Kurt Homan and Tim Parker. On behalf of everyone here at the Sinister Minutes podcast, namely Kurt Homan and Tim Parker, we thank you for listening, for joining us as we explore all the ways in which we are not okay. This audio program is copyright by Kurt Homan and Tim Parker under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives license.